What up, YouTube? This is Steven, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about Jeremy Meeks, and some folks may know him as Felon Bay as well. If you're not familiar with him, he's the dude who had a mugshot that went viral, and he actually like a lot of women liked the mugshot, and I think at one point they set up like a GoFundMe account, and also Jeremy wind up being offered a modeling contract, and he took it, but what I want to talk about is, do you think that this is a question, or like, do you think like, if let's say like if Jeremy Meeks wasn't mixed, wasn't lighter skinned, didn't have the same features, do you think that he would have been offered a modeling contract? And I guess ultimately with this video, I want to open up the discussion of colorism. Do you think that Jeremy, was a beneficiary of light skin privilege? Do you feel like people would have gravitated towards Jeremy Meeks if he looked, if he had like dark skin, And, personally, I kind of think that, I do feel like, I guess, colorism, light skin privilege is definitely an argument in this. I'm a little surprised that this happened. But yeah, I can definitely see some, light skin privilege at play. Because really, I kind of feel like the news media, if this had been like a darker skinned man and he was offered a contract, a modeling contract, I feel like the media would kind of be beaten down on like the black community, and, pretty much just, digging up all the dirt they can dig up on him and just trying to vilify him, But I feel like the white media, I feel like they ain't touching this though. And let me tell you why they ain't touching this though. Because a lot of white folks are implicated in this. First, white women were part of it with, were there with black women as well when they were going crazy over the mugshot. Also, Jeremy Meeks, he has a white wife. His wife, seemed like, she, was holding her man down, while he was out, thugging and whatnot. And he also, I think, has a white mom. So like a lot of white folks are implicated in this. So I think like the media, the white media, the Fox News type of media, I don't think they want to touch this story as much. Like if no white folks were implicated, plus especially if he was darker skinned, definitely, they would be all over this story in a negative way. But since too many white folks are implicated in this, and well, when we get this conversation going, then we can implicate white folks up in here. Nah, let's not touch this story. They ain't really touching this story in like a negative way, like the Fox News way. But back to colorism for a second, though. I feel like when his photo first went viral, there were some black men who kind of like had an issue with the way that women, particularly black women, reacted to the photo. And I think they had an issue, black men had an issue with it because, low key because he was light skinned, I think some black men would have still reacted the same way if he was a dark-skinned dude and women were going crazy over his photo. But I think because he was lighter skinned, I think that sort of was a part of the reaction, a part of the reason for the reaction that a lot of dark-skinned men had, because, but back to colorism for a second, though. I feel like when his photo first went viral, there were some black men who kind of like had an issue with the way that women, particularly black women, reacted to the photo. And I think they had an issue with it because, low key because he was light skinned, women were going crazy over his photo. But I think because he was a dark skinned dude and women were going crazy over his photo, but I think because he was a lighter skinned dude and women were going crazy over his photo, I think that sort of was a part of the reason for the reaction, a part of the reason for the reaction that a lot of dark skinned men had, dark-skinned men aren't really used to being, not lately at least, but they're not used to being, overlooked by black women, for, mixed dudes or light-skinned dudes. So I think that was that played a part in the reaction that black men had. But, long story short, yeah, I can see some, I do see some light skin privilege at play. But, if I was in Jeremy Meeks' position, I probably would have just taken the modeling contract as well. Hopefully he'll be able to make something, positive out of himself, It does seem like people are sort of giving him a break, which is good. Usually, felons don't get cut a break, which is good. But, colorism, and light skin privilege definitely played a part in this, because if this was a dark skinned black man, I'm not sure if the media would be reacting the same way. I don't see that. I could see black women perhaps reacting the same way, but not like the media in general. I don't know if he would have been offered a modeling contract, So, yeah. And also one thing I want to mention too is that, notice when black women found out that Jeremy had a white wife, they didn't really trip about it. They ain't really trip about it. But had this been a dark-skinned black man and he had a white wife, they would have been tripping about that. I really think so. I think black women would have been like, there you go, and like here we go again. Black men always want to be up against, Rebecca. So I guess that's more of a testament to, I guess light skin privilege at play, being at play here. Like I said, low key, black men weren't feeling black women, going crazy over this light skinned dude, But, overall, I'm happy for him. I ain't got any animosity towards him, Me personally, I don't. But then again, I'm probably not the person you should be asking, keep it real, I don't think in this case he really stepped on anybody's toes in particular, but, I can, definitely admit that, there was some, colorism and light skin privilege at play in this situation. And I can understand, some, black men feeling a certain type of way, at least to an extent, So I guess that's all pretty much I have to say about the video. About the situation. But what do you think? Do you think that colorism and light skin privilege is at play in this situation? Or do you think that, hey, Jeremy just lucked out? It wasn't because he was light skinned. It was just because, women liked the way he looked. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to comment, rate, subscribe. Thanks a lot.